Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ty and Sky's Health Pub. We've had kind of an interesting month, kind of both in our personal lives, growing out our facial hair and
or lack thereof,
and or not having facial hair and growing out leg hair. There will be a description for that statement in the future, so stay tuned for that. But other than kind of the weird and wondrous things that are going on in our personal lives currently, there's been a lot of interesting things happening in medicine over November. It's almost gotten to the point where it's hard to keep up.
Oh, definitely.
I know, like, Skylar and I kind of keep, just full disclosure for everybody, Skylar and I keep this kind of track. We keep this back and forth of different articles and awesome health bits of news that we find, things that we think would be awesome to cover here on the show. And I know our list has grown immensely over the last 1 month, just November in general. What has it been about November?
I think it's almost the end of the year, right? So we're getting to that point where all the health crises have to come out of the woodwork, right? Where all these topics have to group up for the holiday season. You know, they're getting ready for Turkey Day, followed by Black Friday, and then good old happy holidays and the winter holidays of December.
Yes. Well, so amongst this gigantic collection of articles that this month largely Skylar has been sending my direction, you've been great about finding some awesome stuff, Skylar.
It's cold, and you gotta look out for the health. You know, you gotta look out for people's health. So it's no problem finding these things. And actually, you know, just as a reminder, we love hearing from people. You know, and people sometimes come up and they'll suggest, hey, have you thought about covering this on the show? And I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be really cool. And we're just, you know, we are lining those up, you know, and we do cover those as well. So if you do happen to have any sort of ideas or any sort of topics that are important to you, we'd love to hear from you for sure. So that way I don't have to keep sending Tyler more articles and he gets upset with me and I'm just filling up his Facebook page.
No, it's actually, it's been a wonderful thing to kind of have some articles to read and catch up on in between flights.
Yeah.
So,
oh gosh. That's some jet lag reading right there. So.
Yeah. It keeps things interesting. So, one of these topics that Skylar sent that was particularly interesting to both of us, and it really intersects kind of an interest that we have personally on this show. I mean, we love discussing where technology kind of meets healthcare. It's something we've covered in the past. And being that Skylar and I are both kind of tech junkies ourselves, it's fun to cover these topics.
The future is now, man.
So,
it is.
Yeah. No, it is. And it seems that future is more and more coming to medicine, or Silicon Valley meets healthcare. I don't know. Is there a valley that would be super important for healthcare?
It's the entire country at this point, right? Every place.
The entire country valley. So Silicon Valley meets the entire healthcare country valley. That's super awesome. We can quote that, and we came up with our title for this podcast right there. So anyway, this particular topic deals with a pill, and this is not just any pill. This pill actually tracks whether or not a person has ingested it. So just think about that. Whoa. So how this apparently works is there is a medication. So there's a pill that contains both the medication that a person needs and a sensor. And then the person wears a patch somewhere on the outside, obviously, an outside patch. And then the pill will send a signal on whether or not it's been ingested to that patch, which then sends a signal to the patient's mobile device. And that information can be shared with their healthcare provider or caregiver or, healthcare power of attorney or whoever else may need that information.
So when you say patch, though, do you mean like we could possibly see cyber pirates happen? Like, could we have like an eye patch that suddenly says you took your medication, and then it just gets sent to your phone, and then we could all be cyber pirates? Can that happen?
Cyber pirates, like an eye patch. I believe that this is not indeed an eye patch, as that would have the unfortunate drawback of taking away binocular vision from people.
That's why we need robotic eyes.
Cyber pirates, robotic eyes, yes. And that will definitely be a future topic we can cover, because fun story, I learned a little bit more about tech in the eye recently. So that'll be something you guys will have to look out for on a future date. But so anyway, coming back to this pill, to kind of summarize, we have a pill that is swallowed. It provides the patient with the medication that they need, or the person with the medication that they need, sends a signal to a patch located on the skin to say, yes, this pill was taken. And then that patch can be synced with a mobile device, and like an iPhone 10, if you're into the face recognition thing.
Yeah.
And that can then be sent online to a provider, or so a healthcare provider or family member of that person or patient taking the pill. So obviously it seems like this is meant to deal with the problem of patients not taking medication. And this is an important problem in medicine that we have not yet covered on this show.
Oh yeah, like it seems like it also has a use of reminding people to take medication. Like I don't know if it's necessarily like, you know, because you could always argue that it's about like designed to get people to take medication. I feel like that'd be the gist for sure. But I mean, if also the person can view that what they're seeing, right, it would be, you know, they could be reminded of themselves. You know, if you've had you ever keep a track of a medication log, for example, if you ever followed one out in Excel or written one down on a sheet of paper, you know, it
really dull.
It can be pretty boring. And then for certain people, they may not be the most adept at remembering all the medications that they took, or they're like, oh, did I take this? So I think that there could be some perceived benefits of it for sure. But again, you know, that it's pretty exciting, because there's a lot of different ways you could interpret like this news coming out. You know, like, is this good? Is it bad? You know, what does it mean for the patient, and what does it mean for the doctors themselves?
Yeah, I mean, this issue of compliance, it is a very important issue in medicine. Obviously, in order to fully receive the benefits of any sort of medical treatment that a person is put on, that person needs to take the medication. And it seems so simple. Like that just seems like, oh, well, duh. I mean, everybody who gets prescribed medicine must take their medicine, you know, according to the instructions, you know, every day until it's run out, or every day of their lives. But really, when you think about when the rubber meets the road and we talk about the day-to-day, sometimes these medications need to be taken multiple times a day. Sometimes they need to be taken like almost within the same couple hour span each day. So time of day is important. Sometimes they need to be taken before meals. Sometimes they need to be taken with meals. Sometimes, you know, like this list could go on and on. So it's
all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, like right before bed, right after you get up. Like, there are so many instructions. And when you think about a person taking different types of medication, like maybe it's not, and this is even talking about one medication. We now say we put a person on 2 different medications that have completely different instructions. You can imagine how this gets really confusing and difficult for patients to remember to take that medication. And it's so important, as like we just mentioned, for certain conditions that medications are being provided for, the purpose is that those medications are necessary to deal with symptoms or help cure whatever may be ailing that person, depending on the disease and the treatment type. So obviously, it's vitally important that a person follows those instructions. So you can begin to see how compliance, or this issue of people being able to take the medications as prescribed, can easily go from being this idea that seems like it would be super simple to really complex when you actually delve into the day-to-day problems and barriers that somebody may face taking their medication. And I know it's important to kind of hit you with real life factors as well. And so just myself, I know. So I have some issues with heartburn. And so at different points in my life, I've been put on medication to deal with that heartburn that needs to be taken typically before meals and at least once a day. So if you've heard of the I believe, is it the purple pill?
The purple pill. Oh, man.
That has Larry the Cable Guy in the commercials telling you need to take it as he's surrounded by spicy foods.
Get her done.
You take it for 2 weeks, get her done. Yeah. So that's the type of medication that I've been taking. And basically it's important that I take it once a day. And I need to take it preferably before I have my first meal of the day. Is when I've been told is the best time to take it. So I get up in the morning and take it before breakfast. Or for me, typically lunch. It's my first meal of the day. But I've even found that it's really difficult to remember to take that. I mean, it's in a perfect world, it's super easy. So say I'm in my house and I have a routine like get up, take the pill, eat breakfast, go to work or homework, do my homework, and then go to bed. Get up, do the same thing, and repeat. But life doesn't often go all to that
sometimes you got to drop Johnny off
day.
at game practice, like football practice or something, or you got to take someone.
The dogs have to.
Wherever. Dogs have an emergency, right? Like, anything
Yeah,
can
dogs
happen.
have to go to training. There's an emergency in the morning. Recently been flying
Car accident.
to different areas of the country for interviews. Yeah, car accident. Like, there's so many things that can break up that routine, and all of a sudden taking this one pill in the morning gets to be really difficult.
I guess in that case, then, is compliance habitual, then?
I think part of it is developing a habit. I think that, and there's entire articles that we could talk about that, dealing with people who are successful in being compliant with the decided therapy between them and their providers, and kind of traits that those people have. There's technology that are devices that have been developed, like smart pill boxes that will tell people whether or not they've taken their pill. People will even use cell phone reminders. And all these things have been looked at kind of in the literature as well. But that brings us back to this pill that we're talking about today. So this is kind of that idea of tackling this problem of getting people to help remind themselves or just successfully getting them to take their medication. So that is the ultimate goal of this device called the Abilify MySite. This pill is prescribed for people who have schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, which are two different kind of mental health issues that can and do affect whether or not a patient is compliant with their medicine, as you can imagine. So what is important for us to really tease out in this whole scenario here is whether or not this pill is actually doing that. So whether or not this pill is doing what it says it should, whether or not the technology that is involved, we have the technology, whether or not that technology is actually leading to a real world difference in compliance.
Yeah, I think you'd have to have some sort of trial to even test, because it's kind of based off the assumption that people being able to check their phone. Like, how many people do you know that have to set 13 alarms to wake up in the morning?
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people, but just because you have a reminder there, and I'm not knocking, I think it's a worthy thing to go after. I think it's worthy to progress in that nature. I just don't think it necessarily proves that, if we have if a patient has this access, if they're alerted that they didn't take their medication, even if they're alerted, it does not necessarily mean that they will take the medication, because certain medications might make them feel a certain way, where they don't want to take it. Have you ever heard like someone say, "Oh, I'm not gonna," like you may have heard the phrase, "Oh, they're off their meds" or something like that. It's not an issue of them not having a prescription refilled or anything like that, but it's because there's something going on where they do not want to take a particular medication. So
Oh yeah,
even then,
and that's such an important point.
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just like if you don't even want to take the medication, then how does this increase compliance if in that scenario? But still, like even bigger, like this, it has a lot of other issues too. That I just just going through, like the pill itself has had some drawbacks, and actually, they suggest that this pill is not actually approved to treat patients with dementia related psychosis. And it also warns about an increased risk of suicidal thinking and behavior in children, adolescents, and young adults that are taking antidepressants. So it's kind of interesting how the FDA has approved this medication that is supposed to work alongside bipolar disorder, but then it has issues for certain patients within that are taking antidepressants, where I feel like that's kind of weird, because wouldn't it be kind of normal for someone who might be suffering from bipolar disorder to also be taking antidepressants of some kind? So it's kind of worrisome.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point in all that. So the Abilify portion, so it's maybe important to mention this as well. Abilify itself was approved in 2002 for the treatment of schizophrenia, and this is without the sensor. So this is just Abilify. And it carries with it all those things that you just talked about, Skylar, all those what the industry likes to call side effects, but what we were taught in medical school to call adverse effects, because that's really what they are. They're negative effects on the body that can come with taking this medication. And it is important to bring that up as well. I mean, virtually no medication that you take has zero potential adverse effects on your body.
Nothing's a great elixir, huh?
So it's important to know that there are always benefits and drawbacks to any sort of medical therapy. And like you mentioned, it carries those adverse effects. So Abilify was a thing since 2002 that was approved by the FDA to treat schizophrenia. In 2012, the ingestible sensor was first allowed on the market by the FDA. And so now this is just a combining of the two, the pill that's been around since 2002 with the sensor that's been around since 2012. And they come together to form this one thing. But it is important for us to talk about kind of those issues of compliance, dealing with how a patient feels taking the medication.
Right.
Because yes, in fact, Abilify itself, the most common adverse effects noted with it were listed to be nausea, vomiting, constipation, headache, dizziness, uncontrollable limb and body movements, anxiety, insomnia, restlessness, and the patch itself was shown to cause some skin irritation. So if you're experiencing any one of these symptoms every time you take this medication, your likelihood of continuing to take this medication drops really low, because who's going to want to take something that makes them feel like crap, and they know that they're going to experience one of these things almost every time they take the pill. So that's an important thing to discuss, and that's a great thing for us to tell patients specifically, if there are any listening, that they need to discuss that with their doctors. And your doctors do need to be made aware of these side effects that you're experiencing with the medication.
Yeah, never.
So
never,
it's
never
important for us to
consider
put
it
that
as just
plug out as well.
A normal thing, like never just like brush it off, because some of these adverse effects can also result in someone forgetting about certain medications, forgetting to take them, and what I kind of worry about with the mobile app side of things, as it keeps track of medications that are taken. And we'll post the article for people to read as well. But covering on this topic of dementia, but people that are just forgetful, say if the app messes up and fails to, or the sensor fails to track a medication that was taken, and someone becomes so reliant on this app that they then use it as their, oh, did I take this medication yet? And that they had forgotten that they had taken it. I think that there could be, some issues there if that was to occur, because numerous of these medications, especially for these patients that it's for, if they, take, an excessive amount of some of their medications, I mean, there's probably a lot of bad adverse effects that could happen there, and possibly even risk of death. So I think it's just, as we always have to struggle with the fear of becoming more reliant on technology, and then, we can't shy away from technology. I don't think that we should, but we have to be aware that these potential issues could arise, and being prepared for
completely.
them is, trying to set up a fail-safe for it would be a really good thing to do.
Yes, and so that kind of brings us very nicely to our kind of the part of this, the sentence of this whole kind of release from, I believe this is from the FDA. Yep, an FDA news release on the medication that really kind of hits you right here in the solar plexus or chest. And I'm going to read this word for word, and then we'll paraphrase, just so we make sure that this part is put out accurately. It says, it is important to note that the Abilify MySites prescribing information, or the labeling notes that come with the packaging with the medication itself, that the ability of this product to improve patient compliance with their treatment regimen has not been shown. So that kicks you right in the gut, because we've been talking this whole time about kind of the idea behind this pill to be a way for people to track and kind of improve, like you mentioned, to remind myself, hey, I need to take this pill because there may be reasons in day-to-day life or dealing with my schizophrenia or bipolar disorder that make it less likely for me to take the pill and maintain that compliance. However, this particular pill with the sensor has not actually been shown in research thus far to improve patient compliance.
So essentially, I guess in layman's terms, then what we've talked about so far about having patients be, I guess, more accountable in terms of taking their medication, that it's not yet shown that this helps that at all.
Exactly.
Essentially, what we've been talking about this whole time, like it's not even necessarily true that it does that, and yet it was approved.
Exactly. So this kind of gets us into an interesting issue of kind of pills that are able to be prescribed. Like what we have the technology, but should we use it? Because obviously this combining the sensor in a pill, I guarantee you, is not a cheap thing.
Yeah.
For a doctor to be prescribing to somebody.
Is it excessive with the patch too if it's causing irritation? Because if it's not, if the benefit does not outweigh the risk, then
exactly,
it's kind of iffy. So
exactly,
maybe journals are still the way to go for right now until there is a study that proves that that does help with patient compliance. Maybe, I'm not sure.
So exactly. So it's important for us to, and you hit the nail on the head, Skylar. It's important with any one of these medications and just procedures and medical innovations in general for us to weigh the cost benefit. And part of that cost is a financial cost, like we talked about, and I'm sure that it is not minimal or little for this.
Definitely not.
This device.
This is the future, man. They need cyborg eye patches, and we gotta have all this, and it's not cheap either. It's definitely not cheap.
Exactly. And the second part to note is like we talked about here, is kind of what the patient deals with for having to be put on the treatment. So the nausea, the
Right, the
headaches,
adverse
the skin
effects.
irritation with the patch. Exactly, those adverse effects. So it's just important, kind of in general, and this was a great kind of way or a great product that allowed us to look at and kind of delve into how important it is to discuss cost benefit for medical innovation. So, yeah, I guess as far as I'm concerned with this, I think that it's a very interesting it's a very interesting way to look at a problem. It's a new way to look at kind of dealing with this compliance issue, especially with patients with these mental health disorders, like schizophrenia, where compliance may be even more of an issue than it would be in the general population. However, being that at this point it has, by its very own labeling, not been shown to improve patient compliance, then I think it'd be tough to front the bill
Yeah.
as a patient for this device to use these pills. I guess that's my opinion. We would love to hear what you guys think. Definitely hit us up on our Facebook page or our Twitter page. Let us know. Let us know what you think about this issue.
Do you think that this pill is that the way that we should be going? And if so, if the pill is the way that we keep track of all these things, are there any concerns with that? I think it's a really big question for us to ask as we move forward, and even in medicine, because medicine's heading in that direction. And soon we have to, it's kind of like I don't know, like maybe it's the Jurassic Park thing, or we have all this technology where, we didn't think about, we realized we could do something, but we never thought about, like, if, yeah, do you know how that phrase goes? I always forget how it goes. It's terrible.
Oh, I can definitely provide you with that.
Perfect. Help me. But it's so, oh gosh, it's that we spent so much time wondering if we like wondering, I can't remember.
So here we go. We will end our and this is in spectacular fashion. We will end this particular episode of Ty and Sky's Health Pub with Jurassic Park quotes. There's literally no better way to end this. So, I'll do my best Ian Malcolm
Okay, here we go.
impression. Yeah. Yeah. But your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should.
Bravo. Bravo.
Thank you. It was wonderfully awful. Make sure you see the wonderful Jeff Goldblum in Thor Ragnarok. If you have not done that yet, it is a wonderful blast of a movie. And until next time, toast. So let's raise our glasses to knowledge good and true, to the future health of youth, and the prosperity that they bring.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Have a good one. Hello, Ty and Sky from Ty and Sky's Health Hub here. Are you an event organizer looking for a way to take your event to the next level? Well, we also do live podcast events with real health experts about the health topics that matter to your community. If you're interested in having us come out, follow the link and let us know.
Have a good one.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ty.
And I'm Sky.
There is more information available at our fingertips today than there has ever been in human history. Yet, quality health information remains largely inaccessible, leaving many people confused about key health issues. There seems to be barriers between medical providers and the rest of us, and misinformation about different health topics is everywhere. Knowledge is strength, and we are stronger together than we are apart. As a community, we can work to spread health truths and dispel health falsehoods, ensuring that each of us can make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, and our communities.
Communication is our greatest tool, so we've created the very first traveling health podcast called Ty and Sky's Health Pub.
We would like to start an open dialogue with your communities about the healthcare topics that matter to you, and we would like to use this dialogue to bridge the gap between healthcare providers, policymakers, and the rest of us.
So you're probably wondering how you can get involved with this great cause. The first thing that you can do is create a dialogue in your communities to find out the type of issues that may be plaguing them. The next thing that you can do is tell people about our podcast. That way they can learn about issues ranging from hepatitis all the way to mental health issues. And then finally, you can also let us know of any sort of potential topics that you'd like to see covered so that we can get in contact with health experts in the field and to make sure that that topic gets spread across the world.
So in order to continue to take this to more cities, cover more health issues, and really take this podcast to the next level, we need your funding. It helps us purchase equipment, it helps us cover our travel costs, and make sure that everybody that helps us out with graphic art and social media and all this other stuff can continue to feed themselves and do other things that they enjoy. So thank you for considering to help us out here. Any little bit helps as far as funding goes. Other than that, if you find yourself unable to fund, that is perfectly fine. You can help us out by spreading the word about the podcast, reaching out to your community, and really figuring out what those health issues are, and joining that dialogue. And then letting us know what problems afflict your community. What health issues would you like to hear more about?
Without your funding, this would not be possible, so we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Together, we can work to help bridge the gap between healthcare providers and the rest of us, make healthcare knowledge accessible, and empower everyone so we can change the face of health across the world.
Hey guys, Ty and Sky here from Ty and Sky's Health Pub, and we are looking for the health topics that matter to you. Follow the link to submit your ideas and we'll get them covered as soon as possible.
Have a good one.